Welcome to the Beer Can Cold Podcast with your hosts Will Merritt and JG Van Graan, a podcast where the suction line is always beer can cold. Take it away, boys.
We almost forgot how to do this.
Almost.
We took a month off. There you go. I'm happy to say we're back. I'm happy to say we're back. It's, I've missed doing this. I really do. This is my sanity check. But goodness gracious, what a month it has been. We made the conscious decision actually at the consortium that we're going to just hold off for a minute and just kind of get our lives back together. But it's been great. We got a lot to talk about.
Yep.
It was good. We were together at the consortium that you guys put out through Effective Media, which was an amazing time, by the way. I love those things. I always get more out of them than I do any of the trade stuff I go to, right? These roundtables, these consortiums are just, they give so much more because it's guys who could just sit around the table and talk about a topic and there's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really good.
Yeah. No, we enjoy it. So going to try to do one again in the spring. We last 2 years, it's just been once in the fall. So
yeah, and I think we might put our hand up to host that. Now that we have a second location, we might be able to actually just get in there and kind of, shut the doors and have a good time. So we're back. It's been about a month since we recorded. We talked about, we're definitely still going to do the interviews and stuff, but every once in a while, just getting back to this. During that month, I had a little bit of off time, built myself a little podcasting table. Now I'm all like professional.
Nice.
I don't know that the trailer thing is going to work out that well because there's a heating and cooling issue within the trailer.
Always a heating and cooling issue, even in the industry.
You would think since I work in this industry, I can figure out how to heat and cool that little trailer, but there's been one thing after another. So we did want to touch today, though, on pay-per-click, because I think that there is still a lot of very interesting things about this topic. And it came up for us because we're in November, we're planning for next year. So that's budget time. We're looking at budgets. We're looking at, what are we going to spend on pay-per-click and all this other stuff. And even at the consortium, pay-per-click came up. So interesting to get your take on it. Will, this is something that you live and breathe.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope is, I guess, a good way to enter it into the conversation. I think, you hear all different viewpoints and people talk about, oh, it's great and this and that. And, before we got started, I was telling you about someone I knew that was kind of letting Google run it for them. Mm-hmm. And I can get into like Performance Max, which has been around for a couple of years, which is designed to almost let the average person, the layman or whatever, do Google paid ads. And so they spent quite a bit of money in a couple of months' time. And
it can happen quickly too.
It can happen. I mean, I remember way back when I first got in with Dave, like 11 plus years ago now, and I was trying to, run some Google ads for us. Yeah, you can set it up and you get a bunch of clicks for that. Nothing ever comes from it. So it's really, it's a lot of, it's almost like the Wizard and Wizard of Oz stuff going on behind the scenes that the average person doesn't see, the average customer or contractor doesn't see. It's a ton of work involved in it to make it function properly, where you're not wasting, you're getting clicks, but they're not bullcrap clicks. They're quality. And even then, it's sometimes, people are going to click on it and, if they don't see exactly what they want, they're gone. So there continues to be more and more nuance. And we talked a little bit about it. I think we can tease this, maybe our next episode, we're going to get more into like the AI world and how that's affecting what consumers are seeing. I was just telling you, we just got back from Nashville for a trip with a bunch of contractors and a distributor. And part of the presentation I did is talked about two things that are starting to change. And it's the AI, like generative search results you're getting. So you type in a question, who's the best contractor in town? Why is my thermostat screen blank? And it gives you answers and stuff, and it's pulling stuff from everywhere. And that's becoming a big part of things. You got to have your website set up properly to be part of the search results. But also there's now a new thing. I'll just see this a little bit. We can get more into the paid thing, but there's AI Max now through Google, which is essentially an accompaniment to Google search campaigns, to where they're saying it's keywordless clicks and click-throughs, and it's also getting you up in the AI generative search results. So
Wow.
it's a new thing, but it sounds like it's like anything. Oh, they make it seem very simple and it's easy to do. Like it said, toggle the button on is all you have to do. Well, and then there's all these. I was watching some videos on it, just learning more about it myself, and there's a bunch of other stuff you have to do at the ad set level in order to really refine and set it up properly, so you don't waste a bunch of money. But my long-winded, as Burrish would call it, long cut, back to what you asked about for pay-per-click. Yeah, it's a huge portion of what many contractors use to get leads today. And it's a big part of what we do. Everybody wants the organic results, which is not free. You have to pay people, and you have to put hours into getting your website to rank properly.
Right.
But if anyone looks at it now, it's a crazy landscape when you search, like, I've broken furnace, heating repair, I need a AC company, ASAP type of thing. It's what you see.
Yeah.
It's generative AI, and then local service ads, and then search ads, and then maps pack, and all that's before you ever get to an organic result.
Well, and I think probably we should back up one step, because I think a big part of our audience are guys that are smaller companies. They, maybe just starting out first, second year, they're starting to think about that website. And I'll never forget, I went to work for I worked for a big company, and then went to work for a smaller guy as a sales guy. And I was a little bit computer savvy. And I remember him walking in, handing me this book. And it was this book about keywords for dummies, right? Because I think that it's like Google for Dummies. And he was like, hey, we're going to do the website. You need to start learning about this stuff so you can put it in the website. And so I had an early introduction to it. Joke was on him, though, because he didn't know I didn't read. I hate reading, right? So I watched a ton of YouTube on it.
So does everyone today.
Yeah, no kidding. But the thing that I think we need to touch on is, how do you get started with this stuff? So obviously I would love for everybody. And the other day I gave you guys a big shout out in a big group I was in, saying, hey, been with Effective Media for 14 years now. You guys need to call these guys. Just don't spend the money yourself. Get these guys to do it. But I think the foundation starts with keywords and those types of things if you're going to do some of the stuff yourself, right?
Yeah. Well, that is still a core concept of getting, the right words, on your website, and the right words in the ads that when someone searches something, does it trigger your ad? Does it trigger it properly or improperly? And so we've been doing it for so long, and a lot of other agencies have too, but we've been doing it a long time. And so we have what's called a huge negative keyword list. So you don't want to trigger your search ad or whatever ad when someone else types in XYZ heating and cooling, because heating and cooling are key search terms, your key keywords, obviously for our business. So you have to go in and go like, all right, well, who are all the local competitors, and put them as a negative keyword, say against your company in the triangle area. You got to put all the other competitors' names and say, I don't want to trigger my ad. Some people and some companies do that. And what we've learned over the years, that tends to turn out to be a wasted click. They say, oh, no, we want that phone call. We're going to save that. We're going to, pull that customer over. We're going to entice them to go with us. Usually 9 times out of 10, if they've searched that company's name,
they want to talk to those people.
They want to talk to those people. And, when I dive in from time to time, JG, and listen to calls, I don't do it like I used to, but I do like from time to time to, go, hey, I'm going to listen to a few calls today. And you'll hear that. And the people are like, oh, no, this is, ABC Heating and Cooling. You were looking for XYZ. And they're, okay, click. So they just, spent no telling on that click. So we typically try to stay away from that type of stuff. But keywords is still kind of a foundational piece for both, SEO, search engine optimization, for, organic rankings, but as well as for the proper, paid campaigns. And there's, a gazillion. It seems like a gazillion different platforms now to be on.
Yeah. And then pay-per-click can be really scary for some guys. So a good friend of mine has a company in Florida, and we were in a leadership group together yesterday. He said, "You guys won't believe me, but keyword searches down here, or pay-per-click here is $300 for some words." And I was like, yeah, I know, but I do think there's a strategy behind how you use your pay-per-click. When you use it. What words you search for certain times of the year. Yeah, I understand that my AC is not working, or broken AC, or no heat, or no AC at a certain time of year in the middle of summer is probably a pretty high paid thing. And then it's like there's probably also a strategy behind, I'm not going to pay as much on pay-per-click in the middle of summer as I would leading up to summer, right? So what's the strategy behind the pay-per-click piece?
Well, it can go many ways. It can be like you said, often in the shoulder season, it can be more expensive because it's what's called an auction. So if your competitors are ramping their budget up, and they'll pay more, then everybody else's price goes up. So, and there's other ways of, if you're on which most companies are, there's very few that really have these some companies that they're spending six figures a month on pay-per-click and multiple platforms of it. But you can run your ads at certain times. Well, I'm going to run my ads from 4:30 to 8 p.m. at night, and that's it during the week. That's a way to just save some money versus running them. We typically don't. We turn ads off at night, typically like after 10 or 11 p.m.
Yeah.
But it just depends. It depends on every market. I mean, I see it. Like just I'm in Charlotte, and you're in the the Raleigh Triangle market. Two highly competitive markets, and they're expensive. We have California customers, same thing. I think sometimes I see it, we're more expensive than they are. And then I've got, a contractor we just went up to see up in the Quad Cities a few weeks ago. They're like in this sweet spot, man. The local service ads are, we're hitting, in Charlotte, Raleigh, $90-$100 for a local service ad phone call, $27 up there.
Wow.
Crazy. I mean, they don't even know how good they got it. They really don't. But it's a lot to it. And it's really dependent upon, what the company wants and needs with it. And it's just such a fine line between, all right, we need business. And then we got too much business. And Google, of course, in their infinite wisdom is they don't like you. They never want you to turn a campaign off. Because algorithms got to relearn. So your campaign's not going to function well, and you're going to waste dollars for another 60, 90 days if you turn a campaign off. 120 days versus maybe you cut the budget down a little bit.
And I think that's what I love about our partnership, not away from the podcast, right? It's like you guys work with our marketing team, and you set this marketing piece up for a year-round, thing. So it's a constant
that's
thing.
what we're doing right now. I have everybody's essentially plan laid out. I haven't started I'm starting to plug in. It's like a puzzle, JG. We're looking at, all right, here's our your website stuff. Here's all your different paid platforms. Here's social media. Here's your review, reputation management side. All right, then we're into looking at billboards, radio, TV, streaming, all kinds of stuff. And so you just start plugging the pieces of it. That's what we're doing right now. We're putting those budgets together, and we're getting ready to present for all of 2026. And like with you guys, we've got a plan laid out, but we always say it's written in pencil.
Yeah, it is, because it changes, right?
Weather depends. I tell you what's crazy, and just a thing I go through, and Google local service ads, for example. I go in and I'll go back and run a monthly report for this year. And I just looked at one particular customer, 2025 versus 2024. They're already almost triple the amount of investment this year, and we're only through just say the end of October versus what they did in 2024. So, and I'll look at the months, and it's like, holy crap, they're 7 times what they were in January. So a lot of that's weather dependent. That for you guys out there, they're not, don't know maybe what I'm talking about. You probably do, but Google local service ads is typically the top paid thing you see. And it truly is a pay per lead platform, because if you click on it, you have to make a phone call. Well, Google charges the company after 30 seconds in duration for that phone call.
Yeah.
It does give us the ability to listen to and dispute, the driver that's calling to get directions, the person, you hear employees call in, you hear a solicitor, or you're calling in for, oh, hey, you guys do duct cleaning. No, we don't do duct cleaning. All those can be disputed, but it's a good platform. But, it can go gangbusters. Jim always uses the phrase, our digital manager, Jim Gregory, he says it's the canary in the coal mine.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as the weather drops off, the leads really dissipate. On that. But when it gets hot, or really cold, it's a great platform.
Now, one thing I know that, and I need to get in touch with Jim too, because one thing I know that helps you guys that I always provide for you guys is our forecasting and our predictions for the next year.
Yeah.
And so I actually, and this is a little bit of a PSA announcement. If anybody that sees this want to call in or reach out to us through any platform, which, by the way, we're on Twitter, Spotify, we're everywhere. If you want to reach out, I'll help you with this. But it's a spreadsheet that I started creating today, and it's taken a while to put it together. But for us, what it'll do is I'm having my managers this time, instead of me sitting in an office for a month saying this is what the budget's going to be like, I actually am getting buy-in from all our managers, right? So today I started with service, and what I'm doing is I'm asking them to go dig up 2023 numbers. So 2023, 2024, 2025, so that we can start identifying rhythms and looking for, the ebbs and flows and starting to understand that. Because believe it or not, yes, we're a seasonal business, but within that seasonality, there is still a rhythm to certain things, right? And so once we have that, that's how we're going to lay our budgets out. And then we're going to also back into them with the amount of service technicians, what we think they'll do, and so forth. But I think for the marketing campaigns, for you guys to have those numbers to say, hey, we're looking to needing 1,200 service calls in January, 1,400 in February, those things help you too, because you guys can then look into how the pay-per-click, how the
you back into the math. You look at what's the click-through rate. Well, click-through rate's great, but what is the conversion rate? And then that's another piece that once it gets to you guys. Oftentimes, we don't have as much visibility. We can see who the customer is and so on and so forth. If that data comes up through the phone call, which most of the time it does, but we don't know. We always say, hey, that $70 click could be nothing. Could be, and when they call you, or they it turns to a conversion. It could be, they call in and the CSR kind of fumbles, or doesn't take care of what they're looking for, or be just a tune-up could turn into a $20,000 job.
Yeah,
a change out. You don't know.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And we're a culture in our company where we just talk about options. We don't sell anything, right? And
I think it's funny. We were talking about that for some of our planning, and one of our key platforms of social media is we're going to give customers some options this year and say, hey, this is what we can do here. And then here's other options, and let them decide, and I think that's what one of the greatest things in this business is. You don't go try to sell, because consumers they hate that. Like, oh, I'm gonna go out to the truck. We'll go back and conjure up something in the truck, and then I'll be back, type of thing. And it was interesting. I was listening to a podcast today, and I'll just leave it at that. I won't say any more than that. But they were talking about giving pricing, and this particular company was like, they're like, I don't know. I'm like, well, no, wait a minute. That's where we got to be, and we're going. It's not a perfect science. Again, it's not like, I'm going to buy, a big TV that's on the wall back there, and all right, I want this particular size. I want this refresh rate. I want 4K, whatever. And then I just look at brands and outlets and where to buy it. And heat and air is not like that, but the consumer thinks it is. And so I think, I'll give Contractor Commerce a plug. It's, they're revolutionizing that aspect of things. And it is continuing to grow. And we're seeing, for some of the people that are pushing it, it still hasn't turned into, I think, what it's going to, but they're getting, a good number of search traffic, organic search traffic, JG, of people going like AC, free AC online quote. HVAC estimate, because that's what they want. Because it's like, boy, you're coming out to the house. That's a scary thing. Even though they may have a need, if they can, do some window shopping, so to speak, online, they want to do that.
A little bit off topic, but in the same vein. Have you been seeing these companies that are now giving pricing online by somebody just going to the website, answering a couple questions, and then they get a price from the website, kind of like a la carte store? What's your experience with that?
Well, I've seen it more like what I just discussed. And it's only what I know, the Contractor Commerce platform. It started with filters, and then you can actually go in and build a system.
Oh, you can't. See, I know we use it, but
good system.
Yep.
Water heaters, whatever.
I have a little bit. I understand that might be where we're going, and I get it, but I have a little bit of apprehension, because to me,
of course,
get a sales guy out to the house to actually look at what is needed, because just today we had a plumbing situation where it was really easy to quote a repipe over the phone if we needed to, because you customer this many things, but then you get to the job and there's several things that the homeowner would have not known to look for. And so I don't know, I'm a little bit hesitant to just have our customers go to our website and just look at good, better, best options, and then go, okay, well, Johnny Leg down the street can do it for cheaper, and so forth. But they don't understand there's no value building in the home. We're as a culture in our company is very value building. It's not that we want the most money out of you. It's like, we want to come here once, we want to fix it once, and we want to move on. We don't want to nickel and dime you. So I'm a little fearful of this new.
I haven't seen really repairs on there.
In my area, man, on my social media, it's popping all the time. Like, hey, tell me
talking.
this. What's that?
People talking, asked and had such and such, they said they're going to charge me $750 to replace a fan motor.
Yeah. No, I need to circle back with a good friend of ours that has a heating and air company locally, and he's doing that right now. He's very much like, answer these 4 or 5 questions, and we'll give you a quote right away. Now, I'm sure somebody from his office calls and follow up, and it's not on repairs, it's on equipment. I want to see where that goes.
Well, that's the same thing. What we were discussing is, it ultimately comes down to that. Yes, someone from the company's got to come to the home. They got to measure. They got to do a load calculation. They got to check ductwork. They got to, check accessibility. Will the equipment fit? There's so many variables. But that's so over the average consumer's head.
Yeah.
No offense to anyone, but it's a lot of detail in what happens in this industry and going in. Yeah, I got the contractor come in the morning. We're getting a humidifier. I wanted steam. Well, they do. Had to dig a hole down in which I have encapsulated crawl space. That wasn't happening.
Yeah,
there wasn't enough drop on the size. I'm doing a bypass, but I need it. I mean, we encapsulated 3 years ago, and the humidity levels nothing in the wintertime. It's way too low.
Well, and I think that's the piece I'm like kind of hitting at, right? Consumers sees heating and air and their refrigerator is the same thing. It's an appliance. 100%. But it's really not, because the refrigerator is put together in a controlled place in a factory, and it's rolled into the home and plugged in. The heating and air system has to get built in an unsanitary environment where we have to solder, we have to do certain things.
I got to drag a furnace under the. I mean, literally drag it. Consumers don't, unless they watch the contractor. I mean, they're literally like dragging it. Like my crawl space door. I think the last furnace was actually a 21-inch wide cabinets, which would be height if it's laying horizontal. But I think my crawl space door is 24 by 25. Mm-hmm. So originally I had the old York PV9D.
I know those.
Yeah. It was 24.5-inch wide furnace. And I'm sure when it got put in, it was a pain in the butt, but you got to drag it across that and drag it across, lay down some plastic and stuff. So you're not dragging it through the dirt.
Yeah.
But it's a lot, You're not putting it together in a laboratory.
Yeah. And that's my point is like, now, how can you just quote a price online? Which means that the guy that's quoting the price online has buffered that price because he's putting in for incidentals.
You're on it. You're on it. So here's the thing, you do, which again, more people are price sensitive. It seems like these days than they always are to some degree. But Some people aren't, but it's just way more expensive than it used to be. But that's all I do. Oh, it's going to be, the best, better, good. It's, it's 18, 15, 5, 15. And then they get out and like, well, we can do that 15.5 system actually for 14.7.
Yeah.
And
I'm hoping
look like the hero.
Yeah. And I'm hoping that there is some conversation. Now, to circle back to pay-per-click just really quickly, websites. Okay, that's a big one. So yes, you can want to do all the pay-per-click you want to do, but if you don't have a decently built website with the keywords and all that other stuff, it's null and void. It's a non-starter.
It's all about landing what Google calls landing page experience. So they rate you 1 to 10, and like 10's like almost impossible to get to. But if you get your ads that have a quality score of over 8, for the landing page experience, the ads, that's doing well. But that's where it comes through. Like when that ad lands, is it landing on and giving exactly what that consumer was searching that answer to them?
Right.
That's why those two, they work together, hand in hand. So both have to be very strong, have to be very well done.
Well, and then the other piece that links into, I would say, the trio would be the reviews, right? So you have to have some reviews. And so we fought that review battle with you guys helping us. But, we try to open that second location. And it's like we had to send them videos of the sign on the building and somebody actually working there. And we had to walk a video, and because Google is trying to make sure that like these companies that just buy advertising in other cities without actually being there, they're trying to, I think, get away from that. Am I correct?
Yeah. Well, Google wants, back to 2018, Google said, we're going to localize the internet. And that was the big push. That's why it's local. That's why it's very hard. If you're not physically in the area you really want to, gain business in, it's just hard, And so they really, it seems like they've relaxed it a little bit. But what we just, have seen is, like, you go create a new business profile for a heat and air conditioner plumbing company, they would immediately suspend it. And we heard the same thing for like attorneys. So I think they're just making sure no one's gaming the system, because it used to be people would do that. They would set up all these little locations. Back in the day, it was like a post office box, and they don't allow that anymore. But ultimately, what Google's trying to do, and which we're all trying to do, is trying to give people the best experience possible. They're trying to give the best result. That's ultimately Google's goal. That, I'm a homeowner that my furnace is broken and I search furnace repair near me, that people that are coming up are qualified people.
Yeah.
That's like local service ads. That's why they do the background checks on those, which we understand. We just heard, here's a little tidbit, anecdotal thing that, they had the moniker and the green check mark beside your Google local service ad, which said it was Google guaranteed. And in paperwork, it's like the contractors has some liability. Like if the homeowner's mad, they call back, they contact Google, that you have to refund. I can't remember the amount. I don't think it would be like the full job, but it was up to a certain amount. From my understanding, that just went away.
Okay.
So that's not guaranteed by them, but it is backed by Google.
Right. So I'm a small contractor. And I know everybody's situation is different, but I'm looking, I have had a good summer and I have some money in the bank to do advertising. So now it's laying in front of me, and I got billboards, I got television, radio, I got pay-per-click and website. For me to grow my business the quickest way, where do I go between those three?
It'd be a combination. I mean, we see this a lot, JG, that, people are putting money, or like too much money, in the wrong place. Like your billboards and stuff, those are great. Contractors love them because they get to see themselves. Nothing like driving down and seeing your big face on a billboard. And I'm just thinking of one right now. We put it to where they saw it to and fro, coming home and back and forth to work every day. None better than that. Yeah, but one person, she's like, I cringe seeing myself. But it's great. It's like seeing yourself on TV,
Right. I think I might know who you're talking about the billboards, because me and this guy talked about it yesterday.
Yeah, I think it's brand building. So
yes,
you got to look at, all right, there's demand platforms, and there's brand building platforms, lead generation, demand. So, I think you have to, what we always tell when we meet with anybody, say, hey, we got to kind of tackle lead generation first. So website's still key. I mean, it's changed, vastly changing, but it needs to be a quality. It's like your online storefront.
Yeah.
People look and go, hey, wow, that looks good. Looks good on mobile. That's the big thing. 80% of searches, and I'm quoting Jennifer Hall on her LinkedIn post this afternoon, 80% of searches are on mobile.
Yep.
And so it's got to look good on mobile. It's got to be mobile optimized. And so that's important. But I would say if what you just said, all right, I'm small, maybe a medium-sized contractor. I've been living off word of mouth for all these years type of thing. I do, maybe I've got a little website, invest in getting one done well. And then maybe usually your first foray into some type of Google paid or any type of paid advertising, I would recommend Google local service ads.
Yeah.
Because if you don't get a phone call, you don't pay.
And the cool thing is that people don't know is you can put a different phone number on each one of those avenues, and you can track what your return, your rate of return is on those. It's not like it's the Wild West. You just guess, well, I think billboards are bringing me business. You can put that phone number on there. Or what I see a lot of guys now do is QR codes, right? Because traffic is moving so fast, it's easy for somebody to whip out a QR code. It's harder for you to remember a phone number.
We typically on that type of stuff, we don't put phone numbers anymore. We might.
Okay.
But people are going to Google or whatever. Well, it's funny. I need to back up now talking about how the new AI stuff, like it's search everywhere. So Google is now with the AI stuff, they're looking at chat forums, like people on Facebook talking about your company. Reddit, which there's a bunch of stuff.
I was going to bring it up. Yep.
On Reddit, and it's like Wikipedia. Well, they're saying, well, now the AI generative search stuff is downplaying both Reddit and Wikipedia. So, but there's also, and here's an interesting one. I just caught this myself a few weeks ago. So go search, whatever you're looking for, who's the best auto mechanic in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And you'll see it comes up under all. And then to the left of it is AI mode, which is Google Gemini. If you're on Google, just to the right of it now, it says short videos. So guess what that is? That's YouTube Shorts. That's Reels on Instagram. So, hey, people that don't believe in social media out there, it's even becoming a bigger factor. And speaking like branding, we throw social media right into branding. It's the least expensive form of branding you can get. And I had a customer, the guy in Quad Cities, Matt, and I'll quote him. I'm quoting everybody tonight, so I hope they watch this. But we're over their place a few weeks ago, and he's a social media guy, and he loves it. And he goes, you got to go where the eyeballs are. I'm like, that's not my quote. That's Gary Vee's quote, but I've said it for years. You just got to be there, and people are just kind of scrolling over. Oh, maybe you catch their attention. You got a picture of a cute puppy. With a condensing, you just installed a system. They got a new doll. It's cute. And they saw you, but they didn't really see you, JG. Same thing as a billboard. They drove by it and, not like they pulled over and went, oh,
no kidding.
Now. We'll call them later and talk to them.
Right.
No.
Well,
thing in TV, radio,
I know for this show, our biggest platform for interaction is the short videos. That's how people interact with the show.
Well, people are just digesting it. And again, I'll tease a little more of the AI stuff if that's going to be our next episode. But
I think it should be.
The quote I heard, and it was a Neil Patel webinar. Here I go quoting somebody again. It said, write in the human voice, and do it for AI. So AI has certain ways they want it. And it's just like, really what consumers are doing today in the general public is they want summaries. It's like if you write a blog or an article on, here's the things to check before you call a contractor. Well, put a summary at the beginning of that blog, number it, bullet point it. So, because what's happening is the AI search engines, the Gemini, Chat GPT, they're going and scraping, and it's easy for them to digest that and pull it out.
Yeah.
So you're setting your stuff, your content up and stuff. It'll pull those little things out, and then it'll show up, in different searches that way.
No, I like it. No, I think AI has an entire hour to be dedicated to it because I think there's a lot going on with it.
AI is like SEO. Somebody says SEO. Well, that's like it's kind of like saying, all right, like we joke around where I live. There's a huge community called Providence Downs. Well, there's Providence Downs proper. There's Providence Downs South. So it's like, I live in Providence Downs. Like, well, it's like I live in North America.
Yes.
Where? Canada?
Right.
Mexico? I mean, where are you? I don't know.
I remember when I was working for the software company, the programmers would joke and said, "Listen, all AI is smart programming." It's really, well, or a lot of what people call AI is smart programming. There's obviously artificial intelligence, but then there's just some smart programming.
Well, it's again, you got to figure out, it's like anything. You figure out the method to the madness.
Mm-hmm.
The way SEO was done 5 years ago is drastically different the way it's done today. 5 years from now, it's going to be totally different again.
That's right.
And, people. I had a customer up in Nashville last weekend. He's sold the business to his son, Travis.
Okay.
His dad, Frank, and Jackie were there. He goes, I saw when I first got there, and then ended up like having breakfast with him the next morning, and we happened to hang out. And he's like, "Is AI going to take your job?" And I was like, "I hope not." But I was like, "No." I said, "It's going to continue. It's evolving. Everybody's using it to some degree. Yeah. You use it. I've used it more lately than I ever have. For certain things, just to see kind of what it's doing, and you can kind of start to train AI to do, feed information to it. A lot of that's going on right now too.
Well, we implemented AI texting. And so that went live yesterday. We've been playing with it for about 2 weeks.
You doing
it's
that
impressive. Podium.
I hung out with the Podium people. They were right across from us, and her presentation was pretty cool. You call it 10:30 at night, and Larry answers, and it's like somebody goes, "Does it have to be Larry?" Or like, "No,
Jerry." No, you can put it. You can put it. I was a big advocate of calling him Bob and giving him a British accent, but apparently I was voted down. No, so and it's a little. We have, as a company, made a decision that we will never go fully AI, and never is a long time, but we want human interaction with most of our customers.
They're pushing back on it right now, and like we're hearing it from different people, like when because it sounds pretty real in a lot of cases, and then the consumer listening to, again, back to call tracking, listen to the phone call, you hear, then they find out, and then they get mad.
Yeah. So what we're going to do, the voice AI is 2 weeks out, and we honestly are going to do it for a backup. We're going to do it when we have so many people, all our CSRs on the phone helping our customers because our call volume is high.
I know you're doing that. It's perfect.
Yeah. And so we want the AI to answer and say, "Listen, I am AI. My name is Jerry. I'm AI. I can help you book a call. If you would like to wait, then we will let you wait." But at least it gives us another barrier of customer interaction and customer service, so that the person can say, "Hey, no, I don't want to do the AI. I want to talk to somebody." Or, "Hey," and let me tell you, I'm just going to say, it is scary how good it is with booking calls, because I gave it, I've cussed at it, I've been the difficult customer, I've been all these things, and it has handled everything I've been able to throw at it. So I have confidence that it can help the overflow, but we will never go full AI, which means that I have to have to keep building out my dispatch department, right, and my CSR department, and it's going to mean more people. But this helps me to maybe say, okay, let's turn it on after hours. And give our CSRs their lives back, so that nobody has to be on call, right? Or maybe you turn it on from like 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. and capture everybody that has things going on in the middle of the night. So there's different things, because if it's an actual emergency, the AI will ding 4 or 5 different phones on our side. So there's different things it can do. But I think that's a whole episode that we can, talk about those AI experiences, both in the marketing and the contractor, because it'll give me a little bit of time to see what this does for us,
Yeah. Now, back to our pay-per-click thing, if I'm a contractor and I'm growing, say I've hit the 1.5 million mark. Website still is the key piece. Your Google business profile, you need to have it set up properly. Your categories, pictures added to it, content added to it regularly, making sure everything matches between that and your website. But then I tell anybody, we talk to a lot of people, and we say, they just want advice sometimes. I'm like, I'm glad to give advice and say, hey, I do those things, and I would get Google local service ads set up, and I would do this. I would do as much community involvement as I could. I know these aren't pay-per-click things we're talking, but it's a huge thing. Just
Yes.
have your company banner hanging at the ball field, in the gym, do some things like that, some sponsorship type stuff, and people like that. And then the other thing is try to be active on social media. But the start of pay-per-click right now, is Google local service ads, and then as budget allows, if you can get on all their main platforms, they do function well together. So imagine that you spend more dollars and they work better. You can be on local service ads, search ads, on the Performance Max platform, which is a combination of a little bit of everything, and then even display ads, which is your banner ads, things that on partnering websites, apps, games. One of the guys at the retreat we were just at, I was on the weather app, and I'm trying to look at the weather before we left. I'm looking at is it shorts during the day? Can I wear shorts? One jacket, and I clicked to go to the daily forecast, and boom, here comes the whole page ad for this contractor.
Yes. Yeah. No, and
so
I think
that's a display ad on their network. It might be running on, may not run through Google, might run through what they call a DSP, demand side platform. But it was a contractor ad, and he turned out to be there.
Well, and so that's the thing. Your thing about community involvement. Let's give another shout out. Guys at Mountain Valley, right? Fill in those guys. Like the stuff that they do for community involvement, we should have them on the podcast, because that's
I love that. I loved it because the owner, Glenn, is a pastor. Yes. I think he's great. Maybe we just drink cheerwine that night.
But the thing is their community involvement is so big, and that's their local. That's their root. We call it grassroots pay-per-click. Right? Yeah. Because they're so involved in the community, and I definitely think that's a podcast we should do with those guys. Because there's so much to learn from them.
I'll tell you, we'll plug another one. It's the night of plugging and quoting people. So today we had a ribbon cutting ceremony. It wasn't a true ribbon. I thought we might have the big scissors and a ribbon, but Anderson, Brian Carey Ivester and Anderson here in Charlotte. Yeah, he's an ex-Marine. So they've gotten involved with Purple Heart Homes.
Oh, yeah.
I brought your name up. I was with John Galena, who was on the podcast. Well, he said, we got joking. He had a new marketing person. And I said, I met John one day, and I talked him into being on our podcast in like 6 hours.
Yep.
And he goes, and the ratings tanked right after that. But he's a great guy. But we were there today, and I was at her house, Yolanda, back a few months ago, and the systems were installed. Great lady, wants to talk, great stories, but we did the official thing. So we had Anderson there, Purple Heart Homes. We had the 80 Pi sorority from UNC Charlotte there doing.
There you go.
That is their fundraiser. We had WCCB there not broadcast, but filmed it. So it's going to be on one of the News Rising things in the morning. But that's just great stuff. And, Anderson, they don't like to push that stuff, but they like to do it. But, consumers go like, man, those are good people. And I was just there today, and I mean, Yolanda had this point. I'm tearing up talking about it right now.
Yeah.
She had someone else read it because she's like, I'm going to tear up. And it was awesome. Just about her being a woman, being in the military. She was in Vietnam and just what she went through, and not almost being considered a true, veteran because she was a
hero.
woman.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's just very touching. But I'm like, man, that stuff is, talking about feeling good. I told Jackson when we left, and Kirsten and I said, man, I can do that every day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, and that's what, and I'll just leave this here. What Phil told me one time, with them, they help out a lot of people in the community, and they don't like to talk about it either. But he said, the more we help out, the bigger we grow, because the blessings come, so it's like that's the big part of this. So,
well, that's just
absolutely.
You do good things come back to you, and you don't need to go seek the spotlight. It's a tough thing. You don't want to go toot the horn that like, hey, we're doing all this stuff, but it's kind of nice that people do know you're affiliated with those types of things, and you care about that stuff. But talk about a great day. He gave me, they need some help up in Hot Springs, Virginia. And I said, I know where that is. That's where the Homestead is, the oldest hotel in America. And they looked at me like, how do you know that? And I say, I went there like 4 straight years with Virginia Air.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I remember that.
Place. I actually, that's funny. I got an email from them a couple of days ago. I'm still on their email list, and yet the Omni bought them or whatever.
Yes. Yep.
But
I heard about that.
They got a house that they need a mini split. So I may be contacting somebody out there who's the president of a certain corporation in the Southeast. So I won't say his name, but I'm going to reach out to you about some ductless help for Purple Heart Homes.
That's awesome. Well, buddy, it was so good to get back together and just talk about this pay-per-click piece. I think this is something that's very, very helpful. I think the next episode should be AI. I know you just have talked about that a lot. If you have a guest to bring on with that, that'd be great too. But I think that just with the presentations I know you've done here recently, it'll be a jam-packed one, and we can actually tease that one a little bit. I think it's important to start talking about this AI stuff for sure.
Yeah,
it'd be really good.
Well, there's two kind of, we can talk about like from my side and the marketing side of how it's impacting things. And then, you could talk a little bit about how it's impacting, how it's helping, your business and how it's becoming a part of that. So it's, it's changing so fast. Like I said, Cyberdyne Systems is coming. Look out. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Think about a couple of years from now, what it's going to be like.
No, absolutely. Well, it was great to get back in the saddle for sure. We're definitely going to try to be more active with it now that it's slowed down. And I say it's slowed down, but it's about to be Christmas. So, but it's okay. We're going to do this as we can because we love doing it. And so therefore, and then we definitely have to circle back with Marty. I'll get in touch with you that there might be some exciting news coming with Marty. So Marty is one of our friends.
Yeah, he's good people.
Good people. So thanks again, buddy. I'm getting ready to go get dinner. So
I got it. Lisa, my wife, is on a golf trip with 3 of them. I guess the 4th one gets there tomorrow, but they drove to Florida yesterday to Orlando. So they're playing golf until Sunday. Driving back.
That's awesome.
So me and Zach's bacheloring it.
Oh, good. Is the pizza been ordered, or are we making fire?
No, I have leftover meatloaf. She made this weekend while I was gone, and then we've got some leftover cabbage from Monday night, so I'll probably make some green beans to go with that. And then it's scary movie night. I'm here to get scared, so we're going to watch a scary movie.
That's awesome. Well, thanks, bud. We will be back. Thank you for everybody watching. And I will do a better job of putting up here. Please follow and subscribe, and I'll put a list of where we are. So I'm working on some graphic stuff. I have a new platform that I'm using, so look for this to get better and better. Yeah, well, every time I see somebody I haven't seen in a while, they bring up the podcast. I'm like, that's good. How does I don't even think anybody's watching, but maybe 4 or 5 people are, So, no, well, good. Well, thanks, everybody, and we will be back next week. Good evening. Thanks, y'all.